You've been listening to this show, the Lost Context Podcast. They used to be all about freedom of speech. They used to say the N-word on just about every episode. But apparently that's all going away, because they've got a new host, Eric Goldberg.
I did it with the 70-year-old guy.
He's a hard leftist and a serious SJW. This is the kind of shit that happens, folks. The leftist movement is getting people to flip on their values. They're using fear to turn everyone into SJWs just like them. And we need to stand up against this tyranny. So I say boycott the Lost Context Podcast. Don't give them your money. Vote with your wallet. And let them know that we do not want the future that the liberals want. So say goodbye to any Patreon support from me, Chris Riley.
Okay, I was hoping so. Because I was thinking that too, but I had a mouthful of food in my mouth, so.
Say goodbye, Tim Demuse.
Blatant misogyny, saying mean things about women.
And good luck after you lose all your fans, Burschkenbrufirst.
I want a woman who's become a man because she was always a man.
Even Dennis O'Connell.
Yeah, none of the mobile phone girls do anything for me, really, but...
Because we won't stand for this. You should all join me in boycotting these people. We will never again be dropped without context into the Lost Context Podcast.
Hi, my name is Eric Goldberg, and for some weird reason, a couple guys decided to give this SJW a hosting gig on the Lost Context Podcast, and I am joined by, why don't you guys introduce yourselves?
I'm Briction Burfirst.
I'm Tom DeWeese.
I'm Chris Riley.
So this is a fun opportunity. Why'd you guys decide to have me host this show? Come on, I'm the person on CLC that literally calls everyone stupid. So
Well, here's how
well,
it
you
went.
just answered your own question.
Literally,
fair enough.
Brian asked who should host the podcast instead of him, and somebody threw out, I think, Tony Calvin, and we decided he would never show up, and then somebody threw out your name, and then we decided we would just ask you, and that was the end of the conversation.
Oh,
We don't
looks
really-
like
we don't really
a
bake
lot of thought.
things.
Thank you for making me number 2 on your list. I mean, I'm extremely satisfied with that and happy. So I know you guys kind of do your own thing with this podcast, but I'm gonna try to do my own spin on it. By that I mean just talking in my voice, and hopefully it'll be coherent and make a pretty interesting podcast, I guess.
And hopefully Chris and Tim will do what they normally do to me and absolutely derail everything you're trying to do.
Yeah, I feel like you guys are just gonna try to sabotage me and make me look as terrible as possible. But whatever, I'm cool with that. I'm cool.
Actually, my intention was to do the exact opposite, because that's what I do to Brian, and so I was going to make it nice and easy and smooth sailing. That was going to be a bit, but now it's ruined.
So Eric's going to host now, and you're still going to try and derail me.
Yes, sir.
Hey, if it works, then
You got to go back to the old wheelhouse, if you know what I'm saying.
I mean, Chris, what did you do to deserve being derailed? That seems like, come on, I've heard this podcast before. You seem to do a very good job hosting.
I'm Burschers.
Oh,
Yeah, Chris did
Yeah,
host.
Brian's the usual host. I kind of hosted on accident one time because, like, there was a lull in about, 2 seconds of time where I didn't think he was going to start talking. And so I just started talking through the show.
I was going to say, yeah, but what constitutes hosting? Is it just the first person who speaks, or?
I thought that's all it was. You're dealing with, radio noobs here, so.
You're making me look bad.
No,
So, Brian,
normally the way that it works is Brian will try and facilitate some sort of conversation, and Chris and I will then interject snarky comments and then play off of each other until Brian tries to bring us back into what we were doing. That's the gist of it.
And that fails every single time. You cannot.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Chris and I are
Alright,
good
well,
at what we do.
Okay, well, I'm going to try
Yeah.
my best to make sure that we do not go off rails. If we do, though, perfect. All right. So we were having this strange conversation a little bit beforehand, which I think we should kind of dive into. We kind of stopped ourselves because we thought it would actually be a good point of a conversation. But let's talk about racism, guys. I mean, that's a pretty easy subject to slide through, right? You know, no one's going
I
to
was
get
hoping
hurt
you'd-
by it. No one's feelings are going to get hurt. It's just, four guys talking about racism.
I like this. I like this topic because it's the perfect setup for one of us to say the N-word,
Yes.
which we love to do on this show.
So is this going to be a game saying who says it first, or is
We're gonna play it. It's gonna be like the game of penis, where you just one person says it quietly, and the next person has to say it a little bit louder.
I mean,
Why don't you start us off, Brian?
Well, I would like to start off by talking about the persecution of the white race.
yeah,
Okay,
if
we
we
have
That's
no, but
interesting.
in fairness, though, we do deserve it. I mean, we've
Oh,
had
I
a
was-
good run
I
for a
was-
long time.
I was kidding.
No, I'm kidding. Too.
Well, I don't think so there is obviously racism against white people. There's racism against but that is nowhere near in comparison to the racism against other groups of people. Like, it's not even fucking close. But we will mention that before we actually get into the topic. So for all of you fucking CLCers that I know are going, well, there actually is racism against white people. I saw 3 tweets over the last 3 weeks.
I think I get a bad rap in CLC and CLS. And although some of it's completely deserving, I will be the first one to admit that. But everyone thinks I'm this like SJW who's offended by everything. And actually, a funny story that happened today was I got into a fight with someone who called Syrian refugees a goat fucker. Syrian refugees goat fuckers. And I like
Shout out
kinda,
Dave Nagel.
Is that him? I don't even remember who
Yeah.
said it, but yeah, all right. So I called him out on that, and I made some stupid reference saying only people who didn't graduate elementary school would think that, and he goes like, why do you have to make it so personal? I was like, well, you literally just called Syrian refugees go fuckers, and no more than 1 minute later did Facebook give me a 24-hour ban.
Welcome to the club, Eric.
Yeah, like, do you not realize context at all?
The Zuck gives no fucks.
Well, I
was
think it's
for-
because you set the bar so low for who would know that Syrian refugees are goat fuckers. I mean, if you learn it that early, then, I mean, it's just like second nature by the time you get older. Then, of course, they're goat fuckers.
Or maybe what the context is they're saying that they expect that kind of behavior from Dave Nagel, but Eric Goldberg, you are held to a higher standard. You must now go sit in the corner for repeating it.
I mean, every time I've called someone out for racism, like, I think Chris Cower would just go back to, like, this one post I made of me, I think, telling Tony, like, saying a tongue-in-cheek comment that Tony's, like, gonna smoke weed, and I made this just throwback comment that, like, stop being a stereotype. And it was just supposed to be a throwaway comment, and then Chris just now uses that against me every chance he has an opportunity to.
I mean, he's N-word Caesar hands. You could feel free to throw anything about that in his face. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, that's his all. When we kicked off this topic before the podcast started, we mentioned Breakfast at Tiffany's, and there's a character. Did you say it was Mickey Rooney?
yep.
Yes, Mickey Rooney.
Mickey Rooney plays a Chinaman or some sort of Asian dude who
I think
is
he's supposed to be Japanese, isn't he?
maybe, I don't know.
Doesn't matter.
He's
They all fit under the category of Chinaman.
he's essentially blackface for a Asian person. He's got
Yellow
giant,
face.
Yeah, he's got giant teeth, super squinty eyes, and he talks absolutely.
I can't even do the impersonation.
It's absolutely ridiculous. And so my question is, everybody says, "Well, that's so racist," and same with blackface. They say that's so racist. And I'm curious, is that actually? I mean, maybe you could call it racist, but is it like offensive racist, or is it just
Well,
funny?
I mean, it depends because, like, is white chicks racist or is it just funny?
Right.
You know what I mean? Or, I mean, realistically, is when Tyler Perry dresses up as a woman, is that misogynist? Or, well, I mean, it's definitely not funny, but you know what I mean? It's meant to be a joke.
I would ask the same about caricature artists.
Yeah.
It's essentially what it is, right?
Oh shit, you're right.
I think it all has to do with context too, because like take Robert Downey Jr. in Tropic Thunder. He's blackface, but I don't think no one really ever protested his portrayal.
Oh,
in
dude,
blackface.
he totally got away with that shit.
Yeah, because I think you also have like a black character there, kind of playing off him, like making fun of him. Like, what do you mean, you people? So. But it's weird too because I mean there was this entire movie about a documentary about Apu from The Simpsons, and Apu's done by Hank Azaria, who is a white guy, and I didn't see the documentary, so I don't want to criticize it, but I'm kind of like cringeworthy if they would make a documentary on that. And I'm not an Indian, obviously, so I probably don't know what it feels like. But The Simpsons, first of all, they've been doing that for 30 years, and all of a sudden, like, oh, now it's a bad thing, so let's erase 30 years of history and get rid of this one character.
Well, and doesn't Hank Azaria do like 15 other voices on
Yeah.
that show?
Yeah,
And so, like, it kind of strikes me that what probably happened is they didn't have a huge fucking budget when the show started up. And they were like, hey, we're going to add in this Indian character. And he was like, oh, yeah, I do this weird-ass accent that's kind of a bit of a stereotype, but I bet it'd be funny. And that was that, you know?
I mean, he also does.
Yeah, because I mean, the first season of The Simpsons, Kumail Nanjiani wasn't born yet, so I don't think they could have gotten him to do the character.
I mean, he also does Carl, the black guy, too, and I don't see that's much of an uproar there. I understand sensitivity, but I think that kind of drives me crazy on the quote-unquote SJW movement. But, I mean, I think there are reasons to be upset and to protest, I guess would be the right word.
Well, and, like, I understand, you know, wanting to protest stuff. Like, I have no problem with that. What I do have a problem with is character assassination. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think the biggest issue that it comes down to is whether you're going to say, hey, we're not going to buy this because we don't like the message that it sends, or saying, hey, this person is a racist and we need to destroy their career, and, you know, they are no longer allowed to provide anything in this sphere anymore because fuck them. You know what I mean?
So I think what kind of drives me a little crazy in CLC is people's jokes, and I think they're trying to be edgy and funny, and they'll give the excuse like, oh, you're just being too PC, but they are really racist. And
Ladies and gentlemen, Dennis O'Connell.
he's gonna really be lost in this context.
You're just in time, Dennis. We're talking about racism.
We needed another varied perspective.
Another white guy.
Yeah, so
No.
Dennis, what you missed is we went around the table and we all said the N-word, so now it's your turn.
Oh, I said it right before I signed on. I thought you guys caught that.
Oh, it didn't record. You'll have to do it again into the microphone.
I want to make sure we get it, so you better say it 3 times.
Yeah, and you want to make sure to hit that R at the end very tight.
Oh well. Well, it's great to be on, guys. It really is.
So where was I? Oh yeah, so going back on contact, I'm trying to keep everyone together on the same context. If we get off course, you know, that's my bad. It makes me look bad. I don't want to be the next Chris Riley.
Oh, dude, it's Brian. Brian is the host.
Oh, Brian,
You want to make
sorry,
fun
Chris.
of Brian? We have to throw Brian under the bus. Bus, Brian, B. Just think of those together. Did you notice that I made a salient point on topic? I did that on purpose, Brian.
Wow.
I was just gonna fart into the microphone.
Of course, y'all mention me as soon as I mute my mic to take a bite of my pasta here.
So I think a lot of what's on CLC is just blatant racism, and I think it's all like knowing what other people post too, and you kind of put that together. Like, okay, they say a bunch of stuff, and then they'll post racist things in meme form, and they say like, oh, I'm not a racist. I'm just just anti-PC. I'm like, that's not an excuse.
I mean, I guess my whole response to that would be just let them speak for themselves. You know what I mean? Like, when somebody tells you something, believe them. And you don't necessarily have to call every single person out when they're doing something that you think is fucked up. I think that realistically, unless it's in person to somebody else, it might be shitty, but it is what it is. You know what I mean? Like, you have to pick your battles. And I think that I would far prefer to pick my battle in person if somebody is, shouting the N-word at the grocery store in, some black person's face, as opposed to somebody making a meme about slavery or something like that,
No, I know. And I do allow a lot of things go. I think I call out people mostly who are known for it. Like, do you know Scott? I don't know if he's in CLC, but he's in CLS. I don't know.
Scott Bakula?
I don't know. He's whatever. He posted an article once with his tagline, like, well, the truth hurts. And then the article was, let's face facts. We'd be safer without black people. And that was... and that was blatant. And I'm like calling him a racist piece of shit and all. And he was like, I'm not racist. I'm like, dude, you literally are posting this article. I was like, well, it's facts. I'm like, no.
Just nuking you with facts, bro. You don't like it? Come on my podcast, debate me. You won't, but...
You could have just linked to him to World War II's Wikipedia page.
Oh, wait till you get to this Hitler guy. You're going to be shocked.
I mean, I have a particular view on this, and that's that, we all know that CLC is not to be taken at face value, and people like to say things that are edgy and cross the line, and things that they would never say in person, things they would never say even in CLS. A lot of people would never, even in a closed group, they would not bring some of these things up that they do. So I think people like feeling like they're in this like little bubble where they can just, be as lewd as they want to be. And it's not just specific to racism. I mean, you look all over the place. There's, rampant sexism. There's rampant, people, shitting on everybody else's view, no matter what it is. And I only really take exception to it if I think the person is really being serious.
And I think that's my problem is I don't know, because I see some of the posts in CLS, which is the more, news, and you kind of, and then I see the posts in CLC, and it's just like, it's not really, the only difference is that it's in meme form. And again, I don't call out everyone, and I don't get offended by a lot because I'm a white, straight, wealthy male. So, I mean, I'm Jewish. I guess you can make fun of me for that. But
oh, and we will.
Oh,
What's the N-word for Jews?
it's the
K
word.
Oh, Kafir, okay.
Those filthy coppers running all the banks.
I think for me, I'm actually like kind of taken away by how unfunny it is. Because if it was funny, then I would laugh. And there's been very racist funny things, and I laugh and I'll like it. But someone's just like, okay, they're just gonna post the most offensive thing in the world, and all right, where's the cleverness in that?
Okay, now you're just Brian Altano.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, I'll speak to this because comedy is extremely subjective.
Yeah.
And like the stuff that's comedy to be edgy or comedy that's not clever. There's plenty of comedy that's not clever. I mean, slapstick is not clever at all, but it's one of the funniest forms of comedy out there, and it's timeless. And the thing with like racist jokes that I don't know, it's like I kind of miss the way that it was back in the day where like all the races could like sit around and make racist jokes at each other and laugh together and shit, and that's really gone away because everybody's so on edge with it. And I think that edge just builds off of itself when people like kind of it's like this social taboo to even attempt to make these like, jokes and laugh about that kind of stuff.
I don't know. I think Louis C.K. did an amazing job, like toting that line, because I think getting up to that line is so much funnier than crossing that line. I don't know. That's just my personal preference in terms of comedy. Like South Park, I think, does an amazing job with it.
Yeah, and absolutely, comedy is best when it's done by professionals. But I think it's like important to not let it be like only to the professionals, or else like how's anybody supposed to even get up to that point where they know exactly where the line is and can hit the right tone every time with it.
Oh, absolutely. I 100% agree with you.
I would say that there is definitely every genre of comedy. It doesn't matter if it's racism, sexism, slapstick, crude, intellectual, whatever. There's going to be the good and the bad. There's going to be the ones that are well executed and poorly executed. And so a lot of times, specifically with memes, I see the edgier it is, the funnier it is. A lot of people think that way. And actually, when Megan did, we had this kind of political compass test, so you could see how edgy or how normie you are. And there was edgy, dank, normie, something else, I can't remember, conservative or something. And so we all took this test, and Megan Milan was like way up in the corner as far as you can get, as far as edgy and dank. And the reason I didn't get that far is because a lot of people have that mentality where the more edgy it is, the more horrifying or shock value it is, the funnier it is. And I think, no, because even in that world, in that spectrum of it's so unspeakably horrible, it doesn't mean that it's clever. It doesn't mean that it's well executed.
Well, and how many fucking autistic kids raping a corpse under a desk jokes can you read before you're like, what's gonna shock me anymore? You know what I mean? Because like that shit is like, I cannot tell you how often that meme comes back. And it's not even around every school shooting. It's just every once in a while they come up with a format that it kind of fits with, and they're like, "Oh, gotta pull out old reliable,"
Right.
And it's kind of getting to the point where, what the fuck can you write that is shocking on the internet anymore? And
Right.
so I'm kind of with Eric a little bit, where a lot of it is fucking tired as hell. But every once in a while, there are things that are edgy, but they're really funny. And I think that if we go out of our way to chastise people, sometimes we'll miss those glorious moments when we're right at the line.
I think my problem is I always confuse CLC with CLS. Because I just don't know where it's coming from. Like people, like I'll start getting into a debate with someone, and someone will call me out saying like, "Do you know what group this is?" I'm like, "Fuck, I forgot." But I'm so far down this rabbit hole already, I might as well just continue on with my debate. But yes, I mean, I think people think I get a lot more offended than I actually do, which I don't. I promise you. Yeah, I think it's just mostly, people who I see posting on CLS and then seeing their memes transfer, or seeing their points of view transfer into CLC. Mostly people named Chris Coward. I'm kidding. No, but I do like Chris. I think Chris actually has gotten a lot better. Before, when I first joined CLS, I actually used to reach out to Chris in a very nice way. When he would post something from InfoWars or something, you can't use this. I mean, come on, dude. And then he just kind of kept on happening, and then he would just make these spend, I guess, 20 hours of his day creating these conspiracy theory charts and posting 20 articles that everyone thinks is or that he thinks in his head that are connected, which no one thinks are connected at all. But I think he's definitely gotten better. I don't hate him as I think people think, and I do use the term stupid maybe a little too much with him. But yeah.
We've mentioned this before, but if anybody happens to be new, CLS is the original group that we were in that is more about historical and political discussions and being freedom of speech, but debating each other with hopefully some sound mind and rationality. And then CLC is the group that we kind of branched off into that's more about shitposting and comedy and memes. And so whenever political discussions happen in CLC, a lot of times, like Eric's saying, it could be masked. It could be racism masked with humor, potentially. You're just never quite sure. Such is the nature of shit posting.
So if there ever was a CLC meetup, though, when we do the three-legged race, would you be Chris's partner, Eric?
Yeah, you know what? All right. Here's something that might be surprising to you guys. I was a political science major in college, and my junior year, I studied abroad in London. I got into this amazing program called the.
What was her name?
My man.
Stephanie.
You know, we gotta study these broads, these dames here.
That was low-hanging fruit, and I loved it.
That was incredible. By the way, I loved my. I don't create many memes, but one of my favorite memes was of Chris Cowart as a low-hanging apple. That was. So I studied abroad in London, and I got into this program called the Hansard Scholars Program, which was originally started by Winston Churchill to integrate people from foreign countries into the British system of government. I interned for a member of Parliament, and so I worked inside Parliament. And the coolest part about Parliament is there are 5 bars there. All of it would subsidize alcohol. So you're spending like two pounds for a pint of beer, which is crazy. And you would see like the random people. Yeah, you just see like random politicians. David Cameron was there. He wasn't he wasn't prime minister yet, but he was the head of the opposition party. But so the bars are there for the essential practice of after like a mass debate, they would just solve their problems with alcohol. And I think
where they'll like get up on the Parliament floor and just straight up insult each other?
Yeah, so those are called Prime Minister questions, and they happen every Wednesday. It's such an entertaining thing because first of all, it's not there for hours. It's a very like strict guide, and okay, you have 30 minutes to have this debate. So yes, exactly. They like they can't call each other names, but they will like speak back and forth and then solve their problems with a beer. But do you want to hear an awkward? This is a funny story of my time in Parliament. The Speaker of the House, who I can't remember the name, but he's still there. He invited me to a Hanukkah party, and because of my last name, I guess, I don't know. So I went to this Hanukkah party inside Parliament, and it's at this building with a bed in it. And the only time that bed is used is when the day before the king or queen becomes the king or queen. So they're doing all these like Hanukkah things, and the photographer was a 70-year-old guy, and he came to me and he kept on like asking questions about Hanukkah because he knew nothing about it. And he was telling me about like what he gets to photograph the queen, he gets a like private time with the crown. So but he keeps on bringing me glasses of wine throughout the entire night, and I'm just drinking it. So he says like, "Oh, you should come check out some of my photos." I'm like, all right. And I'm a little drunk at the time. So he brings me back to his office, which is like right by my office. And then he goes like, do you mind if I undress?
His name Kevin Spacey?
He goes, do you mind if I undress? I'm like,
What the fuck?
Holy shit.
okay. And then I'm a little drunk because he goes like, yeah, I'm just like really hot. And he goes like, I don't think it really matters that if you should love a man or a woman. And then that's what really hit me, like, holy shit, this guy is trying to get with me. So I
You
stormed.
couldn't tell when he asked if you wanted to see his artwork and it was in a different room away from everybody else?
Well, I think there was a few things going through my head. One, I'm drunk.
2,
And
I
he-
love fucking art. Holy shit, dude. I can't believe somebody
No.
finally offered to let me go see their art in a different room.
No, but he's
3,
No, but
kind of a sexy old man.
yeah, I mean, he for a 70-year-old, maybe if I was a little older. No.
See, Brian, we can't help ourselves.
So he actually but the thing is, he was telling me story, like he was telling me like what he has access to. Like he has private time with the queen. That's fucking awesome. I don't
One of
know.
the things you would like to have access to. Your penis.
How much lube do you need for that?
At that moment, you had private time with the queen as well.
I could have. I know. Maybe if I put out, he could have introduced me to her.
So, Eric,
Oh,
which
God.
which part of this was the surprising thing? You said this might surprise some people.
I did it. I did it with the 70-year-old guy. No, I'm kidding. I don't know. I probably shouldn't have said surprising. There's
That's gonna be the sound clip of the intro.
Well, here's the
well,
question.
that was a great show you guys had. Turn to next. No, I'm kidding.
Do I make an intro for this show since I'm not hosting?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
You're still the fucking Foley artist and sound guy.
So, wait, guys, did we solve racism?
Of
Well,
course
hold up.
we did.
So I want to know what you did. This dude's taking off his clothes and saying,
Okay, so he was like, all right, so he was in a suit. See, the thing is, this is my junior year of college, so I'm a little bit phasey on these memories, but nothing happened, not that phasey. So I think his excuse was like, do you mind if I change? Like, I'm just really hot, and he would just want to get out of the suit. And I'm staring at the computer at the time, so I'm not looking behind, so I'm like, all right, fine, whatever. And then he started talking about his sexuality, and then that's what kind of, rang the alarm bells. That luckily that night I did actually have something to do, going to I think it was an ice bar. But yeah, so yes, I almost got Kevin Spacey'd.
all right, well, I think that solves racism.
That does solve racism. Okay, how about so something I'm a big tech geek, and I'm doing some spring cleaning, and then I realized it was impossible. Are you guys into technology? Are you guys, very like, I just need something to text, shirts the web, and make my memes?
No, I'm into it.
I usually pay more attention to it when I'm thinking of buying, and not so much when I'm just coasting along. But yeah, I'm into it.
What do you guys, Apple, Android?
Android.
Yeah.
I have an Android.
Oh,
Same.
green texters. What the?
If you want to get into it, I can give you all my my grieves against Apple.
Go for it. Let's hear it.
I would love nothing more.
No, now that I'm put on the spot, I don't know what to say.
See, you want to
Well,
host the
first
show?
of all,
Why?
here's one of the major reasons: the fact that you can't do a warranty exchange anywhere else other than a fucking Apple store, and the only time that you can get into an Apple store is if you wait on the phone for 40 fucking minutes for an appointment, which is possibly going to be a week from fucking now because
Whoa, what do you
apparently
mean
nobody
a
works
warranty
at a fucking
exchange?
Apple
No,
store.
you can have different warranties with different companies. Apple's not the only. Like, if you buy Apple Care, then yes, you do have to go through Apple, but there's other plans.
They're changing it now, though, where pretty much every carrier is moving to Apple handles the warranty exchanges now, and it's bullshit.
Some of my Apple grievances are kind of normie, like they're expensive and stuff. They're kind of elitist. You're paying for their brand. But that's a good point, because one of my frustrations is that Apple is almost exclusively Apple. Like, they have
Almost,
their own,
it's
and a
absolutely
lot of times.
exclusive.
A lot of times it's because they have their own technology that you could argue is superior, like their chargers and stuff. But it means that you have to use an Apple charger. And when I was at the hotel, we had a box of leftover chargers, and those Apple chargers would go so fast because, one, they're expensive to replace, and two, people need them. Like, Android people would come along, you got a charger for me? And I'd be like, sure, here's 5 to choose from different phones because they all work across the board. Apples would come along and they'd be like, you got any? And I'd be like, no, man, you're stuck.
I mean, I think Apple is changing. I mean, in fairness, yes, the iPhone's still Lightning, but the computer I just bought a new MacBook Pro, and I have to charge it with USB-C, which is like the standard.
Right. Well, like, the other thing, too, though, is that all of their phones do the exact same thing that the Samsung phones did, but years ago. Except for the stupid Animoji, and apparently my phone does the AR emoji, but I don't do that bullshit because it's weird.
I think some of that is where
But the
branding
slow-mo
comes
camera
in.
is rad.
No, but see, this is my argument for Apple, and I think, first of all, I'm stuck in Apple. I can't leave without losing. Hey, shut your fucking phone up. No. I can't leave Apple without losing thousands and thousands of dollars on apps I purchase and programs. Like, I have my Apple computer, my iPhone. But what I like about Apple is that especially with iOS, you're designing a software around a phone, while in Android you're designing a phone around the software.
Say that again. I'm sorry.
With Apple's designing a software for a phone, and only for like 4 phones.
Right.
With Android, you're developing a phone for software.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, it's a little. So, when there's an Android update, there's only like I think 11% of the phones or less than that are running the current Android update, because every phone manufacturer has to do that. Now that doesn't hold true if you're talking about the Pixel, but the Samsung Galaxy 8 just got the update for the current Android software like months and months later. But when Apple releases an update for the phone, every single phone gets it.
That's a pretty common complaint about people that are against Android. And a lot of them say that, there's so much to choose from and you don't even know if it's going to work as well as the others, because they're trying to make it across the board that everybody can use this, but everybody's designing differently, blah, blah, blah. But one thing I like about it is, for me, a lot of people don't want this, but for me personally, I've got to be able to customize and tailor it to myself. And I think one of the necessities about using Android is that if you're going to do it, you should set it up to suit your own needs. And some people don't want to spend the time or don't know how to do that. And so if you just pick up an Android, it might suck. You might just be using it. And I think, yes, but you can change it. You can make it your own. And you can't do that with an iPhone, and it frustrates me.
No, that's true, and I think they're slightly realizing that. They're starting to, but it's also like when you get a Samsung phone, you have like 30 different apps, and so many of them are duplicates.
That's true.
Like you have 2 web browsers. You have.
But again, with the customization, I use all those web browsers for different purposes, and the iPhone users a lot of times, I think they just want to plug and play. They want to turn it on and go, and they like the fact that it's the same with every iteration of the phone because they're used to it and they're familiar with it. So I think it's a preference thing there. I'd complain about it, but I do see value in being consistent.
Do you have an X, Eric, or do you have an 8?
I have an X. I think I have every iteration of an iPhone. It's sad. It's really sad. Sometimes if I
is it made of pure gold?
I mean silver, but
Well, they have the red version now.
They don't have the red version of the 10 though. The red versions are gorgeous. I mean, I use a case on mine, so it's irrelevant. But
I was about to say, like, they asked me what color I wanted for my S9, and it was like, I don't know. I'll pick out a case later. Just bring me what you have.
Give me the pink one.
Eric, I want to hear your thoughts about removing USBs and things, and then requiring you to buy dongles and stuff, or Bluetooth everything.
Okay. I mean, it's annoying at first, but I think when it comes down to the future, I mean, in 2 or 3 years, I think it's going to be irrelevant.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of Google saying, if you don't adapt your website to be mobile friendly, we're not featuring you on our search engines.
No, but look, I'm actually using a microphone, headphones, without a dongle.
Oh.
Not all. No, I found the proper connections. I don't have a dongle. It's annoying. I mean, but...
Wait, could you say that last thing again?
I don't have a dongle.
I'm doing everything without a dongle, guys.
Sound bites left and right. I have so many to choose from.
I have a
dongle
tiny
to
one,
hold me down.
and I have a tiny one, but it doesn't fit, and I just keep on ramming it in there. And
yeah, you can't do it on purpose. It doesn't work. I'm sorry.
The 2 male ends just don't go together. You gotta have a male end and a female end.
You heard it here, folks. Eric Goldberg is homophobic. I get frustrated. I don't like restrictions, and especially when I'm trying to problem solve or troubleshoot and trying to make something work, if they're trying to make it more difficult for me or make it so that I have to get special things to solve my problems, I get pissed, dude.
no, but the thing is, like, I I was like worried about it at first, but then I realized like I don't use anything. Like I plug into power and that's about it. So
I make phone calls, so I got $1,000 phone.
yeah, I mean, in literally, 5 years, what kind of dongles are we going to be needing?
Well,
Apple's gonna try and implant something in your fucking head.
I'm more worried about Google doing that before Apple.
I'll tell a story, and this could be my ignorance of not knowing how to use an iPhone. This could be part of my problem. I'll admit that.
No?
But I had a client I was doing video work for her, and she said, "Just use my phone for this thing, and I just want you to edit this thing real quick." And she had iMovie, I think it is, and then I was gonna get Pinnacle software because she wanted to be able to edit her own movies for just short little commercials instead of the big ones that I make. And so I was trying to figure this thing out. All I wanted to do was import music. And I had a heck of a time because, for one thing, she has a PC laptop, but she has an iPhone. And I just trying to get those things to send I can't connect because she didn't have iTunes. And it spooked me because it was like, if you install iTunes, you might, I'm trying to remember all the details. It was like you might lose stuff. There was a risk, some sort of risk involved. And I didn't want to do anything to damage her stuff. I was trying to be careful, so I was trying to find workarounds. And just to get this music from the computer to I remember I was trying to think in terms of Android. I thought if this was an Android, I'd plug in a USB, it would act like a flash drive, I'd drag and drop it in there, and I'd be done. But it's not built that way, and so there was no way to plug it in, have it act as a file storage or a hard drive or anything. And so I tried to email it. It was giving me problems. I tried to install Dropbox. I eventually figured it out, but it was such a pain to do a simple task, and that's why I'm not sure if it was because I don't know how to use iPhone or if because it's just not intuitive.
I
Well,
think
if you were using a MacBook, it would have been fine. Which is kind of the thing: is if you're using Mac products in general, there's really only one way to go. You know what I mean? If you're an Apple person and you're going to have a MacBook and an iPhone and so on and so forth, it makes sense.
Yeah.
But if you're going to be using PC, Android just makes more sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's so weird though because PC is essentially using Windows, and then I don't know because with Apple, if I write a note on my phone, the note's gonna appear on my computer, my iPad. Unless you're using a Chromebook, I mean you're essentially shit out of luck because you have a Windows and then you have to deal with the Android operating system, which does have Windows.
It communicates perfectly between Windows and the Android device, though. That's the thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not a problem. Like Brian was saying, it's drag and drop. But Dennis, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I mean, I was an early adopter of Android phones, and I was kind of indifferent to Apple and Android at that point, but at the time, Android was much cheaper than an iPhone, so it was easier for me to get into an Android phone. And I was really interested in, being able to basically take control over whatever aspect of the phone that I wanted to, and I would, unlock the bootloader, install my own operating system, load whatever security features I wanted, or change whatever, I could put my own backup software so that it would store kind of images of several different operating systems, and I could switch between them very easily. And so I was really kind of into all the nitty gritty of that, and it got me a little bit into understanding Android coding and Linux basically, and how to run all of that from Windows. And then what I noticed is that as time went on, all of those little features that I had to work so hard to get to started becoming more standard. And so I kind of lost my interest in hacking into all of the nitty gritty of the phone, and it just became, what your phone would come with out of the box. And, where things are now for me, and why I feel a lot stronger towards using the phone that I do compared to an iPhone is I listen to a lot of music at work, and I have really nice headphones that I just kind of drown out all the noise around me, and it's wonderful. But you have to have a certain kind of amplifier to be able to use those. But the phone that I have it's an LG V30. It's specifically made with high-end audio components so that you can drive any kind of headphone, and so it's kind of catered towards different audiences.
But doesn't that just have to do with the phone and not the software?
Well, but the thing is, though, is that in order to find those phones and those innovations, you wouldn't have that in the iOS market because there's only one team, or well, I bet they have multiple teams, but there's one company that is doing this, as opposed to, because like the V30 is a fucking amazing phone. If it was more widely available and I wasn't afraid of needing a warranty exchange or something, I was gonna go with that, but it just didn't make sense. But anyway, that's beside the point.
Yeah. So my one thing about Apple, and I kind of like hate that thing that like, oh, Android's had this for years and stuff. Apple might be like a late adopter when it comes to all these cool things, but they're always perfected. Take like wireless payment. No one cared about wireless payment, NFC payment before the iPhone started doing it. Take a look at wireless charging. Did any of you guys use wireless charging before? I mean, it's been on the Android phones for a long time, but like with Apple, all of a sudden, like all these wireless chargers are flooding the market. Face ID. Apple's not the first one to come up with a Face ID, but they're the first ones to perfect it. They're the first ones to perfect the touchscreen phone.
I mean, yeah, that's cool, but I guess what it comes down to is what makes the most sense for you and what speaks to the rest of your equipment. You know what I mean? And because you have a MacBook, it makes sense to have an iPhone. It just does. You know what I mean?
You need a MacBook, any Apple product, regardless. I don't care about your opinion. I don't care. It's just no. Absolutely, it comes down to preference.
That SJW coming out, folks.
There's the Eric we know and love.
Oh, you stupid motherfuckers!
Personal insults. There it is. Classic Eric.
Go fuck yourself, Brian. No.
One thing I want to mention about Apple, like I don't have an Apple product or anything like that, but they really gained a lot of respect from me when they refused to unlock that one phone that the FBI wanted.
Yeah.
And that just goes to show you, I mean, like, Samsung probably would have folded in a minute. Same with like any of those other companies. And it really, really was cool that Apple wanted to protect its customers' privacy.
Yeah, Apple, unlike Google, and I'm not saying this to criticize Google, but unlike Google, like Apple doesn't sell your data. That's especially during Cambridge Analytica, which is really weird. When the whole Cambridge Analytica thing broke, a recruiter reached out to me to interview for that company, and I was kind of like dumbstruck, and I was like, all right, fine. I'll take the interview. And the first 15 minutes of our conversation was him trying to explain what's happening and how I shouldn't worry if I ever work there.
That's a great thing to hear in an interview.
So you were like, do I need to submit like a resume or anything? And they were like, no, that's fine. We already have it.
Well, I mean, a recruiter reached out to me. I didn't send him my resume. I just laughed hysterically when they could reach out to me in the first place. But Apple. So Apple, I guess, they're as private as can be. Like they don't sell your data, but of course you use Safari and Google, and they'll sell your data.
Well, the closed system is nice for no viruses too.
Yeah, I mean that's untrue. They do make viruses. That's like a whole myth that like.
Well, okay,
it was mostly people didn't want to waste their time creating viruses for Mac because no one used Macs.
Well, but honestly, though, there are less of them.
Yeah. But something I think is the greatest thing they've ever created, at least in recent years, are the AirPods. They are so great. I can never go back to wired headphones. I don't know.
Don't they have now like the AirPods that have like the wired connector to them so you don't lose them?
No, that's just like a third party being a dick. I mean, you're...
Before we move on, I want to say I'm not very happy with any OS out there as far as computers go. I don't necessarily like the layout of I use Linux and I enjoy it, but it's difficult. Sometimes you have to know some coding to make things work, and it's not quite it's not adapted to. I can't use Adobe software on there and such very easily. And then PC's rolling out these like Windows 10 and stuff that is so frustrating. It's like they took their I said on the group, back in the day of old days of phones, Windows said, we have a great operating system on our computer, let's put it on a phone, and it failed. Nowadays, in these latter days of phone, they say, we have a great operating system for phones, let's put it on a computer, and it failed. And I just want to give a quick shout out to Microsoft, quick message, because I know y'all listen to our podcast.
My girlfriend's brother is like one of the top lawyers at Microsoft.
Listen, Eric's lawyer-in-law. You gotta take forced auto updates off and let me have my old Windows 7 style back, because it's really aggravating. And I woke up one morning and I couldn't even start my computer. And when I finally got it to work, all of my programs had been closed and I didn't even know about it. And I've tried shutting auto updates off and you can't do it, and it's pissing me off, and you gotta fix it.
I have to admit though, like I went to a Microsoft store. Like I was really impressed by some of their computers. Like that Studio desktop thing that like folds all the way back so you can draw on it.
I think that's what Wesley has.
Really? That's
Surface
crazy.
or whatever. Yeah.
I mean, I would see no reason for it in my life because I'm not an artist, but yeah, you should see my room. It's literally filled with everything I do not need. I probably like 20 Bluetooth speakers along with Sonoses, and I don't know. It's a shit show.
So Dennis, I've always wondered, what the fuck do you do for the government?
Well, since we're recording this,
Are you allowed to say?
yeah, I'm allowed to say most of what I would say. Although
Of what I would say.
I joke in the chat that I work for the NSA, but then now that everybody knows about the NSA, I had to work for the below market underground agency, since they're not a secret anymore. But no, I work for the Navy. I do tech support and construction management for specific ship classes that relate to damage control. So anything that can go wrong that is considered an emergency, these systems that I manage, that they work properly, kick into gear. So that's relatively new for me. I mean, I've been at the Navy for 10 years, but I had been working just specifically on one system, and then this is kind of a new development.
So if you were around in the early 1900s, could you have prevented the Titanic disaster?
Definitely not.
Yeah, interestingly enough, a Navy vessel ran into another boat like a year ago.
Wait, wasn't it like 100 years? Not 100, but something like the anniversary. I think April 12th, if I'm not mistaken. Titanic.
I don't know.
Yeah, it was
I don't
recent.
remember the exact date.
I think it was April 12th. There's a lot of Reddit posts on the Titanic, and so that's how you know that it's.
Well, then Chris Coward could answer that question because he's on Reddit all the time.
Yeah, he's all over.
Chris Howard uses Reddit. Shocking.
Oh,
$10. He's part of the Donald.
Yeah, or the Donald. Yeah, exactly.
I just realized I had been trying to be in the conversation for a little bit here, talking into my mic, and I was not mic'd up in the Discord. So you'll have a lot of fun with that, Brian, when you're editing.
Go ahead and repeat it all now.
I wouldn't even remember if I tried.
Should we just try to remember every single word we said? So yeah. So you, sorry, explain that one more time. You work for the Navy and you do what?
I work for the Navy, and during the construction phase, the shipbuilder that's a private organization, they receive information from the Navy saying you have to build it exactly like this. These are all the requirements you got to do. And then they say, okay, so we're going to follow all these requirements, and here's the drawings, here's exactly how we're going to build it, and you get input on how they're doing as they start building it. And then once.
Do you ever have to go out to those places?
Yes.
Have you ever been to Marinette, Wisconsin?
Yes, I have.
That's where I'm fucking from, dude.
I was there maybe 5 or 6 years ago. That particular ship class is not a popular topic in the Navy.
Oh, really?
It's not really going well.
The littoral combat
The
ship,
littoral
I think it's
combat
called.
ship is not really going too well. Yeah.
Awesome, because that town depends on it.
Well, they're heavily invested in it working, so
Thanks, Obama.
They're gonna have to go back to making cheese.
well, I mean, I'll speak to what I mean there. So it's a kind of new approach that the Navy has, where instead of having all of these Navy requirements of industrialized, proven on ships, extensive testing, everything is like proven to work in this environment. We're going to make these things cheaper, lighter, and so we're going to rely heavily on commercial. And a lot of these things were not sufficiently demonstrated in these environments, and it's kind of a tough thing where everything's made of metal, but it floats in seawater. So
Right.
there's a lot of kind of issues, and there's seawater flowing all throughout the thing, and so a lot of these commercial products are just apparently not meant to be floating on seawater. So there was kind of a lot of growing pains with figuring out how to get everything to work, and apparently the Navy way, there was a method to the madness, but they had a specific requirement that the Navy needed, and they figured this was the best way to do it. So they're kind of evolving as they go along, but it was a really big headache early on. Things were not going the way that they had hoped.
That's government for you.
Yeah. Well, so I was up there for the early ones. I got to see the
Pivot.
The really all the 5-alarm fires.
Every April, every tax season, I go one more step towards being an ANCAP.
We'll get you there eventually.
How'd you guys do on your taxes this year?
I owe $363 for mine personally this year, and then I just found out that I have 2 years worth of self-employment tax that I gotta pay in for my business.
Oh, so you're self-employed.
Yeah.
How's that being a private contractor?
I thought it was all taken care of in my income tax when I pay that in, but I found out that I pay half and then the business pays half, so there's still 2 halves I haven't paid yet.
I'm getting $4,800 back. Woo! Now I'm trying to figure out like what useless shit to buy. See, I was just at so my girlfriend just got promoted, and she we had a bet like if she got promoted, she would take us out to like a really nice dinner. But the thing is, like, she's not doing it because she wants me to take her out off me coming in 5th place for the NCAA tournament, which 5th place you only get like $80. But I'm like, no, our deal was 1st place. Like, no, you're taking me out. And but the funny thing is, like, when we first started dating, I was about to win my my fantasy football pool for $800, and I made that bet, like, oh, if I win, maybe I'll take you out. And this is probably our 2nd date. And then she brings that up a few months later, like, oh, whatever happened to that nice dinner you're supposed to take us to for you winning? I'm like, honestly, I didn't even think we'd last this long.
How romantic.
And she couldn't really be mad at me because I was very honest. Like, look, we just started having sex, and my mind was in crazy places, and I just didn't think we'd be together 6 months later. It's
I mean, hey, that 70-year-old British man really set a high bar.
I still write him notes to this day. I don't think he knows how to use email.
He's got an inbox filled with your messages. He doesn't know how to access them.
Every day he goes out and he finds an arrow stuck in the tree with a ribbon and a message.
Okay, so this is probably going to be the most homophobic thing coming out of my mouth, but let's have a conversation. What's the price for you guys to go gay? So if there's a wealthy businessman, would you be his little catch.
That's funny because we had this might have been a Patreon exclusive episode, I can't remember, where we talked about how much would you charge Bill Gates to give him a foot job.
That doesn't seem like that bad of a thing.
Oh no, that's why I was saying I said like $10,000 because I mean,
Yeah.
like realistically, you have a really calloused foot.
Eric, that's the opposite of being a homophobe.
I mean, I just think that's a rarely homophobic question for me to ask, but no, 10,000. I mean, a foot massage? Come on,
Oh,
probably like
well,
a grand.
I mean,
I'd
No, a foot job.
Foot job.
foot
yeah.
job. Oh, foot. Yeah, 5 to 10 probably.
Yeah, it's a foot massage. It's a foot massage for you on his penis.
I don't know. That 5 to 10 grand, I think, would probably be a nice starting point.
I agree. But I mean, it depends. Are we talking about like, do I have to be the bottom? Because if that's the case, then it's definitely going to be a higher price. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. No, you
gotta
don't have
get
to be
into
the
the
bottom, but you
specifics,
have to.
Eric, before
You
you
have
ask the
to
question.
be. I mean, you do
do I
have
have to perform oral? Like, what is
Oh yeah,
going
there's
on here?
definitely there would definitely be oral involved.
So there's definitely oral involved.
There's
okay,
definitely.
and then I have to fuck a man's ass.
Yeah. Although
You want me
wrestling,
to you want me to
there's-
stick my penis in a man's ass, and you want to know what the price is for that? Correct?
I mean,
Can
No,
my
I'm
man
fucking
be a-
with you.
Can my man be a trap?
what do you mean a trap?
No. God damn it, Brian! It's to go gay, not to go with a woman, because that person has always been a woman, and when you suck her feminine penis and make her orgasm all in your mouth, that shit is not gay, bro. You fucking bigot.
Okay. I want one. I want a woman who's become a man because she was always a man.
What's the
Hey,
price
no,
for that?
no,
though?
no loopholes in this.
Hell, I'll do that for free. I'll pay her.
It's been a while, eh?
Yeah.
Chaz Bono knocks on your door.
What
Kyle 2 shows up.
What if he has pecs? Like, are you gonna, what would? Oh man, that would be weird. A vagina with pecs.
I don't know if I could do it. I would give I'd probably give a dude a body massage or something.
No, but what about a
Not-
year relationship and
not
you get like $1
depletion.
million?
Oh, then we'd just be bros. We'd just be roomies.
If you don't put out, you don't
I
get
mean, a
anything. Come
million
on.
doesn't go as far as it used to.
That's true. That is very true.
I just don't care about money enough. That's the problem. I need a better incentive.
Oh, what would be your incentive?
Let's see.
Podcast is
Somebody
number
would
one
fuck
on
him in the
charts.
ass every once in a while.
What was that line from Office Space? Like, what would you do for $1 million? 2 chicks at the same time. I was like, I would do nothing. Dude, you don't need $1 million to do nothing. My cousin Walter's broke as shit, and he's just on his ass. And he's on his ass all day.
Oh,
Yeah.
fuck.
Yeah, that's I don't know. A foot massage does not seem that bad to me. So I Bill Gates, if you're listening to this, call me. We'll talk.
You still don't understand the question that we were asking, do you?
Oh, wait, what was it? Full foot mass?
No, a
It
foot
was a
job,
foot job.
where you
Oh,
take
foot
your feet.
job. Oh my god.
jerk 'em
sorry.
off with
yeah,
it.
you're absolutely right. I
Take
did
your
not
feet
understand.
and you jack his
I,
dick with
I
your
know
feet.
I know what a foot job, but it still doesn't sound that bad. You're using your feet.
Well, yeah, that's what I was saying too. That's why I only said 5 to 10,000. You know
yeah.
what I mean? Like,
Do you know the shit I walk through? I step on shit every day walking to work. I mean,
he's gonna get ringworm and fucking athlete's foot on his cock?
Listen, if you walk through shit every day, you could probably charge more. He's probably into it.
Judging by his operating system, he is way into that stuff.
he loves the bugs.
That's right.
So, continuing on, what do you guys do for a living? I don't think I've ever really got to know you guys personally. We know what Tim does. He just went on a whole spiel about it. Brian, what do you do? I know you're a private contractor.
I make social media commercials for small businesses, and I film events, and I have even gone as far as to do, like, I've made a music video, I've done some other miscellaneous stuff, but mostly social media commercials.
Cool. Tim, what do you do?
For a long time, I used to build fences, but now I manage a retail store.
No. What retail store?
It is a T-Mobile cell phone store.
No. Do you use T-Mobile?
It's terrible. Holy fuck, dude.
That's. And Chris, you're a truck driver, right?
Yep.
How's that life?
It's not the greatest, but it pays pretty well for what it is.
How do you occupy your time? I mean, I like listening to podcasts, but I only can listen to so much.
Well, if you listen to our podcast enough, you'll have been able to put together a pretty nice picture of what my day-to-day life is. I'll drive around and listen to public domain brass band music. Sing old songs but replace the words with like different animal noises. There's just all sorts of stuff you can go through to keep yourself from spiraling into madness.
You've spiraled, my dude.
And let's not forget how time-consuming it is to resist the state.
That's right.
Yeah.
I have a story about Tim's job. So,
Let's hear this.
Just this. Wait, what day is this? I don't even know. Just this weekend, we were going to my nephew's birthday party up in Richland, where I used to live before the house burned down. And my dad he's been with T-Mobile for years, and he's trying to get these new phones. He shopped online, and he found out every time he tries to do a transaction online, he's got to deal with Flash. And Flash has been out of use for, 2 or 3 years. And so it doesn't work. He can't get it to work.
So I can't go to, addictinggames.com and play those games like I used to?
That's right. No more Newgrounds or whatever. So he's tried multiple browsers for 2 months. He's been trying to do this, and he says he can't get it to work. So he finally called them up and said, I just want to order these phones. And they said, okay. And they told him, it's going to be this and this. Plus there's a $20 service fee. And he was like, what? He's like, I'm here because I can't order online. You shouldn't be charging me a service fee. She said, well, okay, because you're dealing with this and this and this, I'm willing to credit you on your next bill, credit you $20. But you know how that goes. He's like, how can I be sure you're actually going to do this, It probably, right. If it doesn't go through, he's never going to find this girl again. He'll never be able to prove that she said it. It's just, it's too risky. So he's like, well, I'll figure something else out. So he finds out that there's a T-Mobile store in Richland. So we go, and he's going to go there this weekend. So we went up there, and I was riding with him. We went into the T-Mobile store, and there was a lady there that sounded like she's been smoking for a few years. She had super long decorative nails, but she was kind of ghetto. She was a little bit ratchet. And the first thing she does...
Wait a second. She had super long decorative nails, but she was ghetto?
Well, I'm saying that she wasn't a decorative fancy person. She was kind of ragged looking. So the first thing she does is she takes him to the wall and says, well, what about this? And she tries to upsell him on this, their flagship phone. And it's for him and my mom, she's trying to sell these $800 a piece phones. And it's does he and my mom even know what apps are? It's like, he runs a computer business, but he's not super into the modern technology and using apps and stuff. So,
do you have a Cricket section?
That's right. He ended up saying no, and so she's like, all right. So she gave him the phones that he wanted, and she starts ringing him up. And as soon as she starts ringing it up, she starts complaining about their computers. And his card was okay, but the machine wasn't taking it, or it wasn't working. And so first she was like, it's so frustrating to me that we have to do a separate transaction for each phone. We can't just ring them up together. And then he did his card. She's like, hold on, this isn't working. Oh, this thing's always such a problem. And then her coworker next to her was helping other customers, and she kept butting into his conversation and being like, oh, and you also got to charge him for tax, or oh, this and that. And then she'd go back to my dad, and she kept complaining about, and I thought, you're really bad at this job, because first she tried to sell us on their technology, and then she starts complaining about their technology.
Right,
And then the whole time she's doing this, she's coughing, and she's like, I am so over this flu. And I'm just like, what the hell?
God, dude.
You are the worst salesman I've ever met.
Holy shit.
So that was my first experience at T-Mobile store. I was ready to get out of there.
Don't blame
T-Mobile,
you.
more like T-Virus.
Wasn't it like the really hot girl who did the T-Mobile commercials?
Oh yeah, it was what was it like? She's a comedian, Michaela Weintraub or something like that.
Wait, is that the 18? No, isn't that the AT&T girl?
Oh wait, yeah, you're probably right.
Actually, I take that back. I like the AT&T girl better. I mean, I think the T-Mobile girl was like a little like too attractive. It's kind of like the too model-y attractive. The AT&T girl is like more like a normal type girl. And I think that's more kind of my thing. I don't know. Do you guys have a thing?
Yeah, none of the mobile phone girls do anything for me, really. But
Really? You don't have a thing for cell phones? Come on. No, during like in college, there used to be like the Red Bull girls coming to campus, and they'd be in scampy outfits. I don't think I've ever like bought an item because there was an attractive girl. Mostly like I stay away from the items that involve attractive girls because mostly they don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
Well, I mean, that's just a stereotype.
That's not very SJW of you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this episode is brought to you by Blatant Misogyny. Blatant Misogyny, saying mean things about women.
No.
Back to you, Eric.
You're absolutely right. You called me out for that. I'm mostly talking about like if a girl's trying to sell me a cell phone like this particular one or a Red Bull drink, I'm not any more wanting it than a nerd or than anyone else trying to sell it to me. I'm not into that kind of
Oh no,
marketing.
dude, I don't think that you are actually being misogynist. That's just a bit that I do.
Marketing in general, I actively try not to pay attention to it. Usually if I'm going to buy something, it's because people reviewed it well.
Yeah, and that's kind of my thing too. I'm a big fan of waiting for the reviews to come out. Unless it's an Apple product, then I'll be first in line to buy it. But
But you know that people are irrational and will buy into stuff because the Beats are still selling hot,
yeah,
Even
and they're
Alex
terrible
just
headphones.
found-
I mean, they're fine. They're
They're-
headphones.
Based on what I've read, it sounds like they're just fine, but they're
Yeah.
probably overpriced for what they are compared to what you can get at the same price.
definitely.
Absolutely.
But
Yeah, like
they're-
When I
LeBron-
first bought my X, dude, they were pretty much the only wireless headphone that I could connect with Android that wasn't complete and utter garbage. And I mean, I realized it was $150,
I mean, it's Android. Everything's complete and utter garbage.
so that wasn't nice. Like now, obviously, now I would have never bought them, but back when I did, it wasn't that bad. You know what I mean?
In our
No, but-
podcast chat, we recently had a little quote where Wesley was like, so he said, I don't know what he was referring to, but he said some girl did a terrible soldering job. And he was laughing. He's like, I wish we had a video compilation of a bunch of girls doing these hand jobs that are just failing miserably. And we immediately jumped on him and started saying, complicated hand jobs, eh, Wesley? And he was like, hands-on jobs.
Well, that was because I posted that picture of, it was a stock photo, and it was this woman wearing like safety glasses, and she's gripping a soldering iron by the part that heats up.
Oh.
Man.
That's what
It
that's what I thought of when Eric said girls are terrible at tech or
No,
whatever.
I know that was such a slip of the mouth on me. I deserve to get all the shit for that. No,
Oh, shit.
It's like LeBron James using headphone products is not going to
LeBron
make me want
James.
to. Yeah, like
No, I hear you. Anytime people sponsor stuff or whatever, I think, what do you know about it? And you know
Yeah,
there was
isn't
a
Lindsay Lohan selling insurance right now? I mean,
Right.
or a law firm?
Is she the new Geico lizard? I didn't know that. That's
mean-
badass.
I
To
mean,
be
in
fair,
fairness, she would probably
she's
be the
used insurance a lot.
Yeah, so okay, I take that back, and Lindsay Lohan would probably be the expert on this.
Do you guys remember the movie about the housing bubble that had like
The Big Short?
probably it had Christian Bale in it?
Yeah, The Big Short.
So I really liked that movie and it was actually informative, but I actually found myself getting a little aggravated whenever the pop culture people would show up explaining things because I was like, what the hell is Selena Gomez doing explaining like how this works to me? What does she
Oh
know
yeah,
about it?
Margot Robbie was in a bathtub.
Right? I
Yeah.
felt like it was putting me down. Like this female celebrity who's like 21 knows more about this than you do.
I mean, the funny thing is, it's like the movie's dumbing it down already for you, and now they just take it an entirely new step to... Frankie Muniz, you're not doing anything. Why are you telling me this? I mean...
All that movie did was further my terror about owning a house.
Yeah.
Like, literally, that's all it did, is I got done watching it, and I was like, oh, fuck, why did we buy this thing? Why didn't I just rent forever? This doesn't make any sense. Like,
See, this is actually kind of building off that. That kind of gets me to one topic I do want to talk about. Something that annoys the hell out of me is when someone posts something that a celebrity says political, and they'll be like, oh, what do these people know about it? They should just keep their mouth shut. I'm like, dude, you're doing the same thing. The only difference is that there's people that's actually going to listen to them.
yeah, but Eric, you don't understand. I watch Sean Hannity every single night, and I'm informed on things. I've done my research, and every bill that comes out, I've read every single page of it. Dude, these motherfuckers are all over CLS. I mean, you can't pay them any mind.
I know, but it's just like...
Totally the official accent of Sean Hannity listeners, though.
Oh, fuck yeah, dude. Well, I didn't want to do the stereotypical fucking southern, redneck thing.
Wait, but
so I
did you
figured
hear-
it'd be
did-
funny to do something else.
Did you hear that Michael Cohen, one of his clients is Sean Hannity?
I haven't.
yeah, I
That made
read
me
that
laugh a
earlier
lot.
today,
Yeah.
I think Josh Klimek, shout out Josh, had a pretty fucking dope meme about Sean Hannity's fucking rant, or maybe it was Levi. I don't remember. It doesn't matter. It was still dope.
They all are just the same people. No, but
I
it's,
mean, Levi is a fucking tanky, and fucking Josh is definitely a centrist.
I'm kidding.
I don't think you are, Eric.
I don't know. I don't
Be
spend
nice to my friends.
Should we just create this entire list of like who's left, who's right, who's a communist, who's a socialist, who's a Nazi? We'll call it a blacklist, I guess. I don't know. It's something maybe a little bit more original name than that, but just so we get an idea like what people to call Nazis that are actual Nazis. It's
As
like,
long as
hey,
we can get James Spader, then I'm on board.
you're a Nazi. Don't call him a Nazi. Well, look on the list. He's on the Nazi side.
Speaking of James Spader, the thing that's something that scares me about James Spader is that I found out by watching interviews of him, he actually talks like that.
Oh no, I've dealt with James Spader personally when I worked with NBC.
He's a scary dude.
He's a scary dude. He's obsessed with this weird water I've never heard of before.
Coconut penis. Sorry, Office reference.
It's actually virgin blood.
No, but he's like he requires like these waters in his bedroom. I don't even think he drinks them, but he just does not even
It's
like
a
Fiji.
But he
It's
sure
a
as
sequel
hell
to
could-
water. It's H2O, too.
But he sure as hell could convince you by telling you about it.
I mean, if anyone were to convince me to sell me something, it would be James Spader. Yeah, but he's like not much of an actor. I mean, there's a few people in Hollywood that like they are that personality. Like Michael Cera, he is Michael Cera. Every single role. He's not an actor. He's just reading lines. Jeff Goldblum would be another one. He's not an actor. He's just him. I don't hate him for it. I wish I had that kind of personality.
What about the dude from Ocean's 11?
George Clooney? I
There's
agree.
like 40 dudes in that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, George Clooney.
Yeah, no, he's not much of an actor either. In fact, I'm starting to realize that there's really not many actors in there. Like maybe what's his name? Daniel Day-Lewis. He's the only real actor.
I don't know, man. I felt like I did a better job of his scene in There Will Be Blood, but that's just me.
That's true, Tim, but you're beyond. Tatiana
Maslany
Maslany.
from Orphan Black.
I've been watching Orphan Black. I'm on season 4 now, and she's pretty good, man.
Yeah, I hear such great things about that show. I just never listened.
She plays it's about cloning, and so she plays 9 or 11 or something different roles.
Yeah, but have you seen The Nutty Professor, Brian?
It's been a long time. Which one are we talking about?
The original
Either or, they're
1960s.
masterworks.
Jerry Lewis.
Yeah, I actually just watched. I think it was on Stars. I watched The Night Professor. Those movies do not hold up.
What do you mean, dude?
They
Eddie
don't.
Murphy
I'm sorry.
doing his best work that he's ever done.
That's right. I mean, all of his roles are actually no. There was a movie that was on television, and I can't believe I watched.
Oh,
I
Dr.
think it was-
Doolittle. That is a better role. You're right.
No. Norbit.
Oh, Daddy Daycare.
Norbit.
Yes. Shit.
If,
What
do
was
you-
the one about the comet where he was the superhero?
He was a superhero?
Yeah, dude, it was like Comet Man or some bull or Meteor Man.
That was not him. That was not him. But do you
Eddie
guys
That
Murphy
ever?
was
was in-
Wayne's brother.
Oh,
No.
right.
You're thinking of Blank Man. Meteor Man was another guy. I don't know who it was, but Blank Man was a fun.
Probably another Wayne's brother.
Probably yeah.
No, Blank Man.
Every black role is a Wayne's brother.
No, Blank Man was definitely It was definitely Wayne's brother. But hold on, I'm looking up Meteor Man right now because I'm pretty positive that it was Eddie Murphy.
Is there any
I
chance
think
we'll
it's a
see-
shame that like you had Eddie Murphy that was like at a time he did all
Oh,
these
no, I'm
movies
wrong.
where he played all these different characters, and then you also had Mike Myers who had all these movies where he played all these different characters, and then you finally get them both in the same movie, and it's just a cartoon where both of them just play one character. It was such a missed opportunity.
Wait. Which movie is this one?
It's an imaginary
Oh,
one.
Shrek. Duh. Stupid. Yeah. Those movies were terrible. Shrek was a pretty bad movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
I
no,
love
no.
the first Shrek.
I would
Do you think
call
there's
it
any
all
chance?
right.
I used to love Blank Man. Do you think there's any chance that Blank Man will appear in the Avengers or?
Well, slap me around and call me Susan.
Maybe in the extra credit scene at the end.
All it takes is a Disney
It's like,
buyout.
wow, they really changed this franchise around. I don't know. My girlfriend, she's a buyer for Burlington, the store. So she like buys little girls' clothes, and she had to go.
Oh
to
my
Dis-
god.
What?
I'm kidding.
No. So she went to
Is
Disney
that how
headquarters.
y'all met?
I was in the little girl section, and no. So she gets flown up to the Disney headquarters, and she was like shown like all the upcoming movies that are happening. So she got a sneak peek of Captain Marvel, and she knows some stuff about Avengers that she told me. I was like, "Fuck, that's a spoiler." It was like a very obvious spoiler, but it's a spoiler. And she doesn't care anything about superhero movies, so she was like completely went over her head. Like, why is this such a big deal?
Actually, you should say it here on the podcast because we want to have exclusive news.
Should I say it?
Fuck yeah.
Okay. All right. Guys,
Iron Man
spoiler alert,
dies.
fast forward 10 seconds.
I can't. I'm live.
10 seconds. It's not that big of a spoiler. Like, it's obvious, but Captain Marvel will appear in this Avengers movie.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so it's not that big of a deal. Like, you expect it, you just didn't know it.
You got to promote what's coming. So
Yeah.
somebody recently posted in CLS about I don't even remember what it was. There's a new movie a new reboot of sorts it's cast all women again. Do you know what it is?
Oh, Ocean's 8?
Oh, yeah.
Ocean's Ocho.
And one of the points that Mark Baggio, the movie expert, said was that it's either going to be a good movie or a bad movie. It doesn't matter whether it's cast all men or all women or what. And I thought, yeah, I agree with that. That's true. A lot of
No,
times,
but-
though, they turned out to be not good.
No, I've seen the trailers. I'm kind of excited for it. I'm a big fan of the Ocean's movies in general.
See,
I
though,
know
like,
it's-
I didn't think that the Ocean series was that good to begin with. I don't see the point in rebooting it. You know what I mean?
I mean, the second one was terrible. Ocean's 12, it made no sense. But the third and first one were good. I can't believe I said that about a third movie. But no, but like in terms of like casting for the sake of like casting diversity, it doesn't bother me. It did bother me actually. For Christmas I got my girlfriend tickets to go see Frozen on Broadway, and so the main guy dude, what's his name? The one with the
Oh, Guy
Rain-
Duday?
the reindeer, the guy with the reindeer.
Yeah, Guy Duday.
Kristoff.
Yeah. So they made him black, which is fine. Absolutely fine. The thing that really kind of like drove me crazy was they made the father of the two girls black too. I'm like, he can't produce a ginger. And I don't know why that drove, like, that was like the only thing that like kind of like, okay, you can cast what it, and I don't mind them changing the color of the cast. That's fine. That's perfect. I think it's better decisions than sometimes. But I think that I kind of hate when people make such a big deal of it, though.
Did you hear the controversy about Starfire?
What?
The controversy about Starfire? Oh,
No.
make your joke, Chris. Hold on.
No, it's Starfire.
Oh, on
From,
the what is the show called?
Teen
Is
Titans,
it just Teen
dude.
Titans?
Yeah. The Teen Titans that Robin heads up.
Oh
They
no!
changed Starfire and turned her into like a black tranny or something like that.
Holy shit.
No. It's just a black girl. But I'm assuming that they're probably going to do fucking some sort of CGI over her skin or something like that. You know what I mean? Starfire. So the problem is that Starfire is orange. And so everybody's freaking the fuck out because they didn't cast an orange person, I guess. I don't fucking know.
These are the people with way too much time on their hands.
Oh, no, dude. It's the conservatives that are mad this time.
Yeah, and okay, this is actually a great turn of a topic I want to turn into. In my opinion, I think people who bitch about SJWs are just as annoying as SJWs themselves.
100% agreed.
I think
I'll 70% agree.
70% agreed. All right. Anyone else have a percentage of agreeing?
$1, Bob. Oh shit! It's Drew now.
I'll go halfway with that.
Yeah, it just for some reason they seem to complain about it. Like they're bitching about a 17-year-old who has an opinion on guns, and they complain about every single little thing that someone gets offended by. And
I feel like that's a bad hill to stand on. The better hills to stand on are the one tweet that you'll find from somebody with no fucking following whatsoever, but because they have the stupid blue check that apparently anybody can get on Twitter now, you just have to be willing to go through a process. Like, no, seriously though, that's the stuff that's egregious. That's the stuff that you should be calling out. Because, like, yeah, okay, there are some people that are on some David Hogg bullshit, but realistically, he has put himself out there enough that I don't necessarily see a problem. But, like, when it's one tweet from a motherfucker with no following, it's kind of like, bruh.
Yeah, no.
What are you bitching about?
No, honestly, I think I don't know if we're agreeing on the same thing or not, because like I remember someone that, like put a Facebook picture of a girl holding an anti-gun sign, and like, see, they say people don't want to take your guns, and I'm like, you're taking this girl who's probably 95 pounds holding a cardboard sign seriously? Like, this is who you're going after? Of course you're gonna fucking find people who want to take all your guns away. I mean, I don't know.
What I find annoying about that, but also understandable, is that people will seek out the things that annoy them, and they'll come up with any kind of example they can to prove their point, because they want to show everybody, look, here's examples. I'm not making this up. These things actually exist.
Absolutely. Like, I will never post one hillbilly holding a Nazi flag, because that's one person with no power. But like, if the president says something, like, of course I'm gonna fucking post it. If someone like with power says something, like, yeah, that's something to talk about. Not one person who can only vote. That's about the extent of their power.
Well, again though, I think that I might pull back my 100% agree, because one of the things that I really do have an issue with is like writers for movies and saying, oh, you need to include this or that or the other thing. And I mean, I get the complaint on the one hand, but on the other hand, it's kind of like, well, if you want to see black voices in film, wouldn't you prefer that black people write it? And it just, I don't know, like, that stuff is pretty annoying, because like the film industry doesn't make policy. Like, the film industry isn't going to, do something with your fucking healthcare, or, you know what I mean? Like, but yet that seems to be a very standard scapegoat for our side. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so I actually saw what's that movie with Matt Damon, Downsizing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw the movie and I was like really looking forward to it. And then it took this completely, and it was like fun for the first like half of it. Then it took this completely political turn, which made no absolute sense in that movie. Like it became all about global warming, and I'm a very pro environmentalist person, but this is not the place to fucking do it.
I agree.
Yeah, no, you're right that like you can write a message into a movie as long as it makes sense.
Well, I'm speaking more to trying to tell people to write inclusive stories, even though that might not necessarily be their voice.
Yeah, apparently Black Panther started out, entire white cast. It took a weird turn in the process. No, I get that. I agree with you. I think it just also, if it feels like baked in. I think there's a difference, like, if it feels natural or not. Because, like, look, have you guys seen Hamilton at all?
Yeah.
Yeah, those guys weren't black.
Right, no, and I have no problem with that.
Yeah, but some people did, which is weird, because weirdly enough, people did, and those are the people who I'm assuming are very anti-SJWs.
No, that's fair, and that was a ridiculous thing. Like, nobody in that play has any power over you. Why do you give a fuck what they're doing?
Yeah.
I for one would much rather see like any sort of attempt at cultural engineering and stuff done through art and through entertainment rather than through the government any day. So like I hate when I see like the same people that are trying to change the way that the government is able to get into your lives and everything like that. Also, like in the same hand, like try to keep like Hollywood from doing their own thing and complaining about like movies that are, too this way or that.
Can we actually
let Hollywood be Hollywood?
Can we actually like have a conversation of how terrible conservative movies are? I'm not talking about as a political standpoint, but like, have you ever seen the movie or heard of the movie God's Not Dead?
Yeah, dude, with Kevin Sorbo? Fucking Hercules?
Yes.
Yeah, I never
Yeah,
watched it.
bro.
That
I
is
watched like 15 or 20 minutes of it and was like, oh no. Oh
those
no.
are so terrible. Or
But that's not a conservative movie so much as it's
religious
an evangelist movie. Like,
yeah, okay, fair
evangelist movies are fucking, there's something else sometimes.
And the one starring Kirk Cameron from Growing Pains.
Yeah, I was gonna propose that we watched one of those for a CLC movie night.
We should. There's the Left Behind series, and then I saw this trailer for, I think it's called Saving Christmas,
Yeah, dude.
and it is so like I don't know how the Room is considered the worst movie when this movie exists.
The Room is pretty bad.
It is really bad, but I'm telling you, watch the trailer for Saving Christmas with Kirk Cameron.
Oh, I've seen Saving Christmas, and don't get me wrong, it's a bad movie. But it's... Well, the thing about Kirk Cameron, though, is he is still a better actor than whoever Tommy
Wiseau.
Yeah. I mean, that was atrocious, and you know what I mean? At least Kirk Cameron can kind of deliver some lines in a way that's palatable.
Yeah. But why are those movies bad? Like, are they able to be good? Like, can you make a good Christian film?
The Passion of the Christ is a good movie.
That's a fair point.
I believe that anything can be good if it's put into the hands of someone who knows how to do it.
Yeah. By the way, I just want to say, Warren, if you saw Passion of the Christ, I promise you, I had nothing to do with Jesus' death. It's a big people say stuff. It hurts that people think that, but look,
we all killed him together with our sins, Eric. So, can I throw my 2 cents in real quick for the people who complain about SJWs?
Yeah.
Well, when Jets finally rises out of the water and he's attacking, and Titus decides that he's going to sacrifice himself for all of our sins, that's a really good Jesus allegory. Moving on.
What I like about it is people like Joe Rogan and Dave Rubin who are actively complaining about SJWs and as a
Okay,
result.
I have my after you finish. I have my 2 cents about those guys.
Okay.
Go on.
As
Well,
a
before you get to
result,
that, I have something to say about the movie topic. So
God damn it! I'm turning into Brian. I can't keep you guys on track.
you're a terrible host.
no, I was gonna let Brian finish, but before you go into the other thing,
Okay.
Can I talk? Can I talk?
Is
So-
Dennis even around anymore? I don't know. I haven't heard him in a while.
I'm here. I'm waiting for the next topic.
And then we're gonna run out of time.
Yeah. Okay, so
I
Brian, I think
appreciate-
you're first.
The good thing about them speaking out about that stuff is that they have proven to be a platform for people who have been mobbed, and because they're willing to listen, and as centrists or whatever sort of centrists, they're gonna give people a platform to speak and say their side of an argument. I love that. That's great. And it really brings popularity and awareness so that people can rally around this person who was mobbed. What I don't like is when that becomes their agenda, and Dave Rubin has become a cliche and a trope in our group, because every time he comes up, if somebody's like, the liberals aren't the left anymore, the left is turned against us, like that's all he ever talks about, and that's the point at which I think, okay, you're getting annoying, and it's nobody even wants to listen to you anymore because you just can't get off this topic.
Actually, I 100% agree with you on that. That's why I can't. The one guy who I love is Philip DeFranco. I think he's like the only non-hypocritical one of those, political talking individuals. And you don't really see that many of those people on the left. I don't know why.
Tim just brought him up today.
Who, Philip DeFranco?
yeah,
Oh.
yeah, I didn't even know who he was.
Oh, I like him. I mean, I don't really follow too many political people online in terms of like those people who go on rants. Like, I hate Milo Yiannopoulos, not because of his political views. He's just a troll. He doesn't say anything. Nothing. If you listen to the words in his mouth, he's like Tommy Lauren. They don't have anything substantive. They just speak
Can we
loud,
get into
and people.
Milo for a second?
Yeah.
Because I need to tell everybody in this fucking group that when we decided that we were going to do this goddamn book club
Oh,
that got
goddamn.
disbanded after I bought this shit-ass book from this shit-ass troll, because everybody was like, oh, I'll read the liberal stuff after these liberals prove that they'll read my bullshit. Well, guess what? I read your fucking bullshit, and nobody read any fucking communist manifestos with me. What the fuck? Fuck all of you. I'm fucking pissed. Moving on.
Start it back up, Tim. Be in charge. Be the change in the world you want to see.
Before we finish, before we continue on any further with this, what is this about the movies?
Oh, those
About
are
what?
the movies. Well, what I was gonna say was, so, you know who makes good conservative movies?
Who?
Liberals. 'Cause, like, if you look at almost all the Marvel movies, like, actually watch those movies, and they're exactly like what a conservative message like ought to be, or at least what it used to be. Like, this sort of don't trust the government, believe in yourself, like, do the right thing sort of things. And like, obviously nearly all of these writers are liberal. I mean, almost all of Hollywood. I mean, they don't really hide it or anything. You go back to the 80s, you get movies like Ghostbusters, huge, like, kind of conservative, like, small business side on there. Star Wars in the 70s. Like, liberals do a pretty good job of writing conservative movies.
I mean, I don't really understand why a small business is considered a conservative point of view. I don't know.
Because it was the small business versus the government and government.
Oh yeah, that's right. The EPA.
Yup.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I got it. I remember the EPA scene in Ghostbusters.
I know I'm not the host, but I feel like we're kind of getting to the point where people are going to get bored with us, and I haven't.
Yeah, we're
heard
at
much.
an hour 40.
I haven't heard much from Dennis, so I'm wondering if maybe we should give him a chance to talk about what he wants to talk about.
I mean, at one point I did want to say something about the SJW thing, but it was just kind of like droning on and on. So
I'm sorry.
if we're going to skip over that, we can.
No, No, go for it. Let's hear your SJW.
Well, I mean, my view on that is that I personally don't care what kind of message people want to put out there. You know, if people feel strongly about whatever, you know, social injustice that they want to platform, then I don't have any problem with that. It's only when it becomes a mandate that everybody must agree with you, and there's actual consequences for not agreeing with you. And part of that is like the whole mob mentality, where people just kind of like, you know, go around and badmouth people and try to get them fired, and like it. You can see the point where it starts to get overboard.
Actually, can I jump in for 1 second? Sorry. There was this rumor going around that I called Andrew, whatever his fucking name is, his boss, and got him fired.
I don't think anybody knows who did that.
Yeah, that was not me. Okay, sorry. Continue.
Yeah, I prefer that things get dealt with, disagreements get dealt with by talking things out and, you know, being logical and not reaching for, you know, some kind of authority to make it so, and everybody else has to get in line or else. And that's the dangerous part that I see in it. And when everything becomes about, you know, we need to model society for the 1% outlier of whatever group, and you have to champion that group such that everybody has to follow the rules that cater to the 1% of that group, then things start to get a little bit haywire. Because, you know, if you design systems for the anomalies, then, you know, you get some undesired effects out of that.
No, and I entirely understand that. I obviously cannot take the moral high ground here, because, you know, I call people stupid all the time. But, you know, and sometimes I really feel justified in calling it, because I love political debate. I love having discussions like this with people, and it's kind of hard to do so online, well, at least typing. But at the same time, if some of the like points are made are just like, dude, just think about what you're saying. This is not smart. I mean, there's no common sense to what you're saying. And it has nothing to do with their political point of view, because that I can take. It's just the logic in their argument. And sometimes what they say is just completely disingenuous. And so if what you're saying goes against goes against a group of people, you know, that's dangerous in and of itself too. So like a lot of what's been going on, especially in the Trump era, is like, you know, anti-immigration, anti-Muslim, and, you know, that hurts people, and it's based on fear that doesn't necessarily exist. That's all I have to say on that.
Yeah, and I think a lot of discrimination comes from fear.
Irrational fear. And
ignorance about people that are different.
Yeah, I live in New York City. If I listened to the people in CLS, I would have been blown up 1,000 times by now. All right.
Abolish the police. Next topic.
All right,
Bring back dueling.
Dueling. I don't know.
You would see such like a downward trend in people talking shit if dueling came back.
Oh no, there would be no SJWs left if dueling came back.
I think there would be a lot of people that wouldn't be left anymore, because, like, have you ever seen the fucking internet after anybody uses a gun anywhere? There is always at least 18 motherfuckers telling you, like, man, if I would have been in there, I would have pulled out my concealed carry, I would have taken out that criminal, like, bam, bam, you don't even know. And, like, dude, I fucking guarantee you that we would be left with basically active combat veterans, and that'd be it.
Trump said like after the shooting, like, oh, I would have gone into the school. And it's like, bitch, you used growth spurts as a way to get out of Vietnam War. You wouldn't have ran in.
Or how about when he's posing next to the eagle, and rather than biting its fucking head off, he screams back in terror.
I remember doing that whole gun debate, and this is another time I called someone stupid. During the whole gun debate, someone was like, well, the reason why the United States hasn't been taken over is because of our guns. I'm like, No, that's not how it works. Every country hasn't been taken over, basically.
Y'all motherfuckers never heard about the lizard people? We already been taken over.
Do people actually believe that? I'm just kind of curious if it's just like kind of they're fitting into their own.
Are you conspiracy
Well, in
shaming
certain
me,
ways,
Eric?
we've never been martially invaded by another country. And, and that is part of the reason, is because we have guns.
No,
Like,
I don't. No, but that's not like.
Well, but
why-
one of the other reasons is the giant landmass that we are.
and we have a
And
pretty
the huge,
big
massive people as well.
Yeah, we have a pretty big military we spend billions and billions of dollars on every year. No, that has nothing to do with why. Like, look at England. Look at every other country. They're not being invaded. But I do. If you guys ever have me back on, it should be with Chris, because I think Chris and I really got to work some stuff out.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. You're never coming back.
Oh, thanks.
Nice dream, though.
No, it's a man can dream.
It's your fucking show, Eric. Tell him you're gonna do whatever you want and call him a
Yeah,
bitch.
I'm taking over.
We love that shit.
Brian, you're kicked out.
Say
I'm sorry.
5 hail N-words and we'll consider it.
I 100% guarantee if you posted a poll on CLC that said who should be the host, me or Brian, they'd vote for you just out of spite to me.
Oh, for sure, dude.
So one thing that I liked that Colin said, who's Colin? Oh, some guy. One point he
Mr.
I
made.
actually
Powell.
think Bob's and Vagine would win that poll, Brian.
That's true. That's true. He said one thing about the guns argument is that he just doesn't like the idea of giving up anything like freedoms or liberties or rights or whatever. And I thought I could see there's a point to that because a lot of times things tend to escalate. So now you've got the UK saying, well, no more knives and no more screwdrivers and stuff. And I use my knife on the daily. I love it. I would hate to give up my knife, but I don't care as much about guns because I rarely ever shoot a gun, except at the gun range on occasion. So,
And occasionally I point it at someone's face who I don't like. That's about
yeah,
it.
well, there's times.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would. I if people said no more guns, I'd be like, eh. I mean, it wouldn't hurt me too much. I wouldn't care too much. But if people said no knives, I'd be really sad.
I'll never get those Amazon boxes open now.
That's right.
No, but look, I get why people like guns. They're fun, but have you ever seen that Jim Jeffries thing on guns? I think he probably laid out the best arguments anyone has ever made.
Nope.
It's like the only reason to have a gun is because you like guns. Everything else is kind of just like interpretation of your head of what's gonna happen. Like, oh, if there's a gunman here, I'm ready for it. It's like, no, you've been practicing on a non-moving target your entire life. They've never fired back at you.
I mean, that still doesn't mean you shouldn't be given the chance, though.
I'm not saying there shouldn't be, but at sometimes it could cause more of a problem.
There's this girl I've been talking to in Australia, and I kind of wanted their perspective. She said, Australians don't really look at the U.S. very highly, with very high regard. She said, I don't like guns, and I think that guns it should be much harder to get one, and you should have to go through a long process that involves checking your mental state and stuff. And I actually agreed with her on that, because even with my drone, I had this drone and I was trying to use it for commercial purposes, but then they enacted this law where you have to go through and get licensed to do it commercially. And I started to do it, and I got halfway through the study process, and there's so much in there. You basically have to become a pilot to it as far as your knowledge goes. And I finally gave up because I thought, I don't want it this badly. I'm not going to make enough money off of it for video doing this to make it worth my time. I just said screw the whole thing. And I think that could work with guns if they
You know what's really funny, Brian?
What?
So I'm going to tell you exactly what I had to do in order to get my concealed carry permit. So when I was 10 years old, I took a hunter safety course.
Been there, done that.
That's literally it. When I was 10 years old, I took my hunter safety course, and when they enacted the concealed carry law, I just went and got one. That's all they required.
I'm thinking that's not enough.
I'm thinking that's too much.
Although the hunter safety course was informative, and I still to this day remember things that they taught me about safety and stuff. So I think it's good.
Oh, for sure. But I mean, I think you definitely should have to do some sort of a refresher course before you're just gonna fucking Because, like, one of the things, because I did take a class anyway just so that I could know more about the laws. That was my biggest concern is, you know what I mean? If I'm going to carry a gun, I want to know what is going to land me in jail if I fucking shoot it. Like, that's a logical step. So I went and did an 8-hour class because of to learn all of that stuff. And I'm so glad that I learned it all because there are a lot of things that I would not recommend doing with your concealed carry in Wisconsin.
Oh.
Because, like, we're not a stand-your-ground state. We're also not a castle state. You know what I mean? So there's lots of rules of engagement when it comes to here.
So
As much as I hate regulation and I'm really frustrated with this drone thing, I understand it, and I think, based on my own experience, that if you regulated guns a little bit more and made it just more of a task to get one, then it would deter crazy people from getting it.
See, you can make that argument against crazy people, but the funny thing is like Ted Nugent is on the board of the NRA, and if he's able to get a gun,
Anybody fucking can.
get a gun. Like, this guy talks about shooting politicians all the time, and he's still able, and he's still on the board of the NRA.
I think that whatever they enact to set up regulations to make it harder should keep him from getting a gun. He should be ruled out.
Yeah, speaking of drones, though, my girlfriend's cousin is married to this extremely rich guy. He's got this, like, massive yacht. He flew us out on first class to Florida, and his place is right next to the Mar-a-Lago, and he has a drone, and he was flying it, and all of a sudden his drone stopped working. And the reason why was Air Force One was going right overhead, so Trump could go to Mar-a-Lago.
Nice.
Some sort of signal blocker or something?
Yeah, so it did it with, like, every single like, it does it with all the drones. I'm not really sure how it works. I mean,
Interesting.
It's kind of dope.
yeah, drones are one of those things.
I mean,
like,
on a technology standpoint, like, obviously, you know, it's kind of fucked up that they just kill the signal to private property when they're flying over it. Like, what the fuck?
I think it's just extremely unlucky. Like, how often does Air Force One come right?
Well,
over
yeah, I
here?
get that, but that's still bullshit. Like, what the fuck, man? If you're gonna, I don't know. That's just me.
You could argue that you're in their airspace, that they own the airspace. So.
That's true. In China, in New York City, you know, you buy airspace. Like, technically, you can build a building over another building.
That's crazy.
Any way to make a buck.
Hey, I got a really nice stretch of air up here.
I guarantee there's no pollution.
The draft comes
Why'd
from
you guys
the...
turn into Watto all of a sudden?
Did you fucking make a question thread, Eric?
No. Oh, yeah,
No,
people want...
Listen, this is Eric's show. If he didn't want questions, he didn't have to have questions.
I wanted a question. Can you guys have me back on with questions one time?
Well,
Even
here's
for
what I
like
can do.
5 minutes.
I'm gonna ask you, Eric. I have the 5 questions that always get asked.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Why don't we? All right. This is the last segment of the show because we're going to ask myself 5 questions.
All right. So the first question is coming from Matthew James, and it is: are traps gay?
There it is. Was waiting for it. Knew it was coming.
I don't even know what that is. I'm sorry.
All right, and now we've got one from Mario Garcia, and it's: how many shekels did they pay you to come onto this program?
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, it's a great one. I didn't know I was offered any money, and as a Jew, I will ask for it.
Well, you can have a cut of the $12 we get per month on Patreon.
Oh, really? 12 people care about you? I'm assuming they only give me $1 each. I mean,
I think it's actually 8. Some people give $2.
I was doing We the Blue with Brian Diaz and a few others. Brian and I had a podcast, hence why I have a microphone randomly. And some guy was paying us $50 a month for some reason. I mean, I just don't. I think we have 3 supporters, and one of them's for $50.
Did you trace the address back to London, England?
Full circle. All right.
Our third question is going to come from Joe Moore, And Joe Moore wants to know, what is your favorite thing about the Queen, and how does that make you gay?
Well, the guy did lure me up to his room with promises of pictures that he took with the Queen. And I was in a room with a 70-year-old guy undressing, so that kind of made me gay. So, I don't know.
Oh, can I ask the next question?
Of course.
I mean, can I read the next question?
Of course.
This one comes from. Suddenly, I can't remember anybody's name in the group all of a sudden.
Alex Insdorf.
So Alex Insdorf asks, "Marry, fuck, kill." Dennis, Chris, Tim.
Dennis, Chris, Tim. Okay.
Alex, why didn't you include me, you jerk?
Damn it, Alex.
Wait, Alex, Chris, Tim?
Yep.
I'd probably...
Dennis. I'm sorry, Dennis.
Dennis, Tim. Okay. Dennis seems smart, so I'd probably marry him.
Oh.
Wow.
Chris, I mean, you're a blast, and I think we'd have great pillow talk.
What the fuck?
Wow.
I'm fucking offended. This is some bullshit.
Won't be offended for now. So long, you're about to die.
Aw.
Good thing you have that concealed carry.
Right? Holy shit.
I mean, I don't know.
The most
Dennis
dangerous
works for the government. You know, there's some good benefits there.
Well, and us liberals, we love the government.
No, we just love money.
All right, so Tim's marrying Dennis too.
Wow.
And what was that? 4 questions? Come on, there's one more, right?
Yeah, we have one more question. Chris Riley, would you like to ask the final question? Or read
don't
it?
have
I
it
mean,
up.
read the final.
I don't have it up, so you'd have to read it.
All right. Well, considering I'm pulling these out of my ass, fuck you.
Oh, I didn't realize you were just making them up. I thought you had
Yeah, I am. As a matter of fact, that's fucking hilarious.
Okay, so
So do you want to read the last one now?
yeah, give me a minute. I have to get my reading glasses on.
The fact that he didn't know that we were reading them demonstrates that these do get asked every week.
Okay, so holy shit.
You'll find the thread's in there somewhere. You'll find it.
Yeah.
I know that the last question was from Ramin.
Yeah, ramen salami.
Yep.
Do you see it there, Chris? It's in there somewhere. You have to get through all the people answering the previous questions for us.
Come on, you guys
Dude, I
can't
hope
just
to
make
God
up a
somebody
question
is-
offhand.
Oh,
That's what
I
I'm
have
trying
been.
to do, and I'm just stalling.
Come on, I'm sure there's
just
so
saying
much you
nothing.
need to ask this guy who has such a reputation.
Here's a question for you, Eric.
All right.
Tanya or Jamie James?
Wait, what? Wait,
Tanya
wait.
or Jamie James?
Tanya or Jamie James? Oof. I don't know. I have a good relationship with Jamie. I don't know Tanya that well. I guess I'll go Jamie James. I don't even know what Tanya. I barely know I know what Tanya's profile picture is, but I don't think I've ever seen her like outside her profile picture.
Lucky.
Oof.
I mean, the hate sex with Jamie James would probably be incredible. Cause yeah, hate.
You guys are on opposite ends of the political spectrum.
That is very true. It would be like fucking a Nazi. That's
It's like Chris. It's like he always says, you just got to do it for the story.
Why do you think I had sex with that old guy?
That's right.
Yeah, it was for the story. Otherwise, it'd be just a silent podcast for 2 hours. Guys, I want to thank you so much for having me. This was a fun time. I'm sorry I ruined it for anyone else who wanted to host, because you guys will probably never have someone host again.
You mean thank us for... Wait.
You should thank us for being on your podcast.
That's what I was trying to say.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Yep, we're honored to be here.
You're welcome. We're super honored to be here on the Lost Context podcast. I've never done this before, but I'm super glad that I got to be a part of it.
I'm really hoping that just like Mark Baggio, that this launches my career and I'm on 3 more podcasts after this.
Yeah. That's,
I got one.
I don't think
you
you have the
found a
voice
question?
for it though. Oh yeah.
Where
What's
do
the
you
question?
get your ideas from?
When I'm masturbating, it normally just comes to me.
Oh,
okay.
shit.
All right, thank you very much, and it was a pleasure. I will never have you guys back, but it's gonna be a bitch editing this. Until next
Y'all
time.
motherfuckers need Jesus.
All
All right.
All right,
Later, guys.
later.
So, yeah.